Please be seated. So good afternoon, and welcome to the Law School's 40th commencement ceremony. On behalf of all of us at the University of New Hampshire and UNH School of Law, I want to begin by congratulating the class of 2015 for the tremendous professional achievement that today represents. You've worked extraordinarily hard and achieved great things, and those accomplishments, of course, will be the focus of our celebration today. But before we dive into celebrating your accomplishments, I want to begin with taking a moment to thank you for what you've given back to us in the process. All of you have done really an enormous amount to enrich the life of the law school, the larger Concord community, and you've been just a tremendous class filled with so many wonderful people who will do inspired and kind and important things with your life or your lives, and it has truly been a privilege and an honor for all of us to have had you as part of our community. So thank you at the outset for sharing your talent, your insights, your generosity, your kindness. You will be missed, and we'll expect you to come back and visit regularly. So thank you. We're privileged today to be joined by some of the most steadfast supporters of the University of New Hampshire and the UNH School of Law here on the dais and in the audience as well. And I'd like to acknowledge some of those people. Beginning with the trustees of the University System of New Hampshire, who are here with us today. I want to thank them for their service to the university and to the state. Tim Riley, Jude Blake, Ken Moulton. Thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to acknowledge the president of our university, Mark Huddleston, whose vision, determination, commitment to excellence in higher education continue to animate our university and is the reason why this law school is part of it. But for President Huddleston's leadership, a great university, UNH, and a great law school, at the time Franklin Pierce Law Center, would never have come together, and an extraordinary opportunity for this state and for our students would have been lost. We are truly indebted to him for his leadership. Thank you, Mark. We're joined on the dais as well by our university's provost, Lisa McFarland, who has embraced the law school during her tenure as provost and worked tirelessly, and I mean tirelessly, to find every possible opportunity to build on this new union that we've created to support our school and its mission. She has been an extraordinary advocate for the law school within the greater university, and we are indebted to her leadership as well. Thank you, Lisa. Also on the dais for this year's honorary degree recipients, Kathy Green, Sherry Young, and Justice Conboy, true friends of the law school, whose contributions are extraordinary and that we'll be celebrating a bit later this afternoon. So thank you for joining us as well. Finally, at the far end of the dais, I want to acknowledge our Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Professor Margaret McCabe, who is among the most capable, thoughtful, and tireless colleagues I have ever had the good fortune to work with. The law school is truly lucky to have her. Thank you, Margaret. Of course, with us today is no more important group than the people who have worked most closely with all of you to be partners in your learning, in your professional growth, in the achievement of your professional aspirations. And that, of course, those, of course, are my colleagues on the UNH Law faculty and staff. They are among the most committed educators I've ever had the privilege to work with, and it is an honor for me to join them in celebrating your achievements today. So I want to thank them for joining us as well. And finally, and truly in the category of last but not least, are the friends and family members who are with us today, whose love and support, you all know better than anyone, has been instrumental in bringing you to the happy place we find ourselves today. We want to thank all of you for joining us here today. We want to thank you for the support you provided our graduates during their years here at UNH Law. And graduates, I'd ask you to join me in recognizing the most important people in your lives. So. Among the many family members and friends who are with us today is a particularly special group that I want to briefly acknowledge. And those are alumni of this law school who are here today to see their sons, daughters, and other family members join them as UNH Law graduates. It may be hard to believe for some, but our law school is now welcoming its second generation of graduates. So let me take a moment to acknowledge each of those very special families, beginning with, and I'm going to ask you to stand, all the members of the family, so we can at the end collectively acknowledge you. Sarah Crisp. Where is Sarah? Please stand. Sarah and her father, Jack Crisp, class of 1978. Michael Strauss. Where's Michael? Michael Strauss and his uncle, Stephen Fine. Class of 1977. Lindsay Whitelaw. There's Lindsay, and her mom, I know, is over there. Jay Whitelaw, class of 1982. And Bobby Wu. Where's Bobby? There's Bobby, and her father, Shonan Wu, and mother, Ji Wang. Are they with us today? There they are. Graduates from the class of 1987, our Masters in Intellectual Property program. Thank you so much for joining us. We're honored by your presence. I'd now like to welcome to the podium the President of the University of New Hampshire, Mark Huddleston. Mark.
Well, thank you, Jordan, and good afternoon, and welcome, everyone. Jordan did a nice job acknowledging many of the folks here. He forgot one, though, and that's typical Jordan Budd. He has been just a phenomenal partner and a self-effacing but incredibly terrific dean to have, so I'd like to give him a round of applause as well. Well, it is wonderful for me to be here and to celebrate with you the class of 2015. You certainly have a lot to celebrate. I was kind of counting them off, taking them off in the car as I was driving over. First and foremost, obviously you've got friends and families here to celebrate with you, and nothing is better than that. Second, you have earned a degree from what I think of as one of the great law schools in America, and you celebrate that. And third, and probably most important, you never have to take another required course in torts or property or contract law again. Seriously, you really do have a lot to celebrate, and today we also celebrate the law school's 40th commencement. And in case anyone here finds the idea of turning 40 a little unsettling, and for most of you it looks like that milestone is still a ways off, let me remind you that this is just our 4th commencement as the UNH School of Law. And maybe that's a good metaphor for the class of 2015. Your class reflects a great balance of boundless energy and youthful optimism paired with the intellect, practical skills, and wisdom that come through years of hard work and experience. In your time here, you have achieved excellence in legal education. You have shared your commitment to leadership and public service throughout our communities, and you have inspired us in creating innovative new opportunities in a rapidly changing world. I want to thank our graduates as well as the law school's faculty, staff, advisors, and trustees for working together to realize the success that we celebrate here today. Because of you, the sun shines bright on UNH Law today, as it will far into the future. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to our graduates. And I would now like to invite Dean Budd back to the podium to tell you about the tradition of advice from the faculty message. Thank you.
So now we turn to a portion of the ceremony entitled Advice from the Faculty, as the President referenced, which is a tradition that began with the very first graduation of the law school in 1976 and has been carried forward every year since then. As you know, the graduates of the law school vote to select a faculty member to address them on this day. And this year, in your collective wisdom, you have selected Professor Michael McCann, which is, I think, an excellent choice. Before I invite Mike up to the podium to speak, I want to just briefly describe some of his accomplishments for you. Many of you know already that Professor McCann is a highly regarded sports law journalist as well as a law professor. He has combined his sports law expertise and his experience as a journalist to become one of our nation's foremost sports law journalists. He writes for Sports Illustrated. Last year alone, he wrote 148 articles for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He appears regularly on national television as a leading sports law commentator on whatever the controversy of the day may be, Aaron Hernandez, chaotic governance of the NBA, the list goes on and on. He's always there with insightful commentary. Mike also has a huge social media presence, as many of you may know. He has 38,000 Twitter followers. Now, 2 years ago, I didn't even know what that meant, but I've been obliged to educate myself a little bit to not be so completely out of date. And I have discovered that places Mike number 2 among every law professor in American legal education. He has the second largest Twitter following of any American law professor, save one on the Harvard Law School faculty. His reach is truly remarkable. All of that is really extraordinary, but the most important quality of Mike has nothing to do with any of that. It's the fact that he's a committed and an engaged member of the UNH law community. He's an excellent teacher, he is an active and an influential legal scholar, and he is a dedicated mentor who is deeply committed and invested in our students' success. So despite the fact that he makes me feel completely inadequate, I'm proud to have Mike as a colleague and a friend, and I now invite him to the podium to share his advice with you. Professor McCann.
Well, thank you, Dean Budd, for those very kind words, and to our graduating students, congratulations. You did it. It's a major accomplishment. To your families and friends, know they couldn't have done it without you. And to our distinguished faculty, administration, and staff, I know you feel the same way as I do in being thrilled to be part of this amazing commencement. So I've been tasked with sharing some advice as you leave law school and enter the next phase of your life. I'll get right to the point. My first piece of advice should be obvious. Do not deflate footballs. But my second piece of advice may be more important. Do not falsely accuse others of deflating footballs. I mentioned deflating footballs not just to conveniently tap into the national crisis known as Deflategate, though that is part of it to be sure. No, I say it mainly to remind you that you should never forget and you should never ignore what you've learned here. Because what you've learned here is incredibly relevant to all sorts of things, like trying to unravel bizarre sports controversies that we never would have known about before. But maybe more importantly, other things that affect who you are and that will affect your future as a lawyer. Think about it. When you started here at UNH Law, you've learned, since you started here, I should say, you've learned about major topics that provide the basis for law in the United States. Big ticket, often complicated topics like evidence and constitutional law and administrative procedure. Those of you who have studied intellectual property law have learned about patents and copyrights and how the law can protect innovation and safeguard ideas. The future prosecutors and public defenders in here can talk about all the criminal laws needed to convict the guilty and the criminal procedures essential to safeguard the innocent from being wrongfully convicted. The future business attorneys here are certainly competent now in negotiating a contract and signing it. I could go on and on. No matter what you studied, no matter which professors you took, no matter your grades, you've learned an incredible amount of information over these last 3 years. But maybe more important than what you learned is that law school has changed the way you think. And that change is permanent. There's no walking back from it. You may not realize how different you think about things, but you will. You'll approach new information from a very different lens than before you started law school. And think about it. You're probably now a lot slower to judge others than you were before you started school. You're probably more likely to help out two persons who are in a disagreement, figure out where their common ground is, and then help them. And you're undoubtedly learned that being polite and measured in conversation is a lot more persuasive than the loudest of yells and the sharpest of critiques. And I suspect you're more likely to care that there's a fair, predictable process in place before any punishment is levied. You're probably more troubled than ever by swift justice and unforgiving rhetoric. You probably find it harder to blame only one person when you know that there are often many causes for why something doesn't go right. You knew the world was complicated before you started law school. Now you have a better understanding of why. But even more importantly, you've learned that law is hard. It's not always mechanical. It's not always predictable. And it's not always right. You realize that there are many shades of gray, even more than 50, in the meaning of law. You've learned that looking up the law is often not that informative if you don't know what each word within the law means, or should mean, or could mean. It doesn't tell you the context or the ideals behind the law. It doesn't tell you about the struggles that may have gone into making that law a reality. And sure, nowadays anyone can Google the law. And yes, anyone can tweet it out. But not everyone can apply the law. Not everyone can explain what it means. You can. And that is truly a learned professional skill. It's part of what makes being a lawyer so rewarding. For the rest of your career, you'll work in an occupation where your brain and your work ethic and your judgment and your compassion will guide you. And that is true even if other people find you a little bit annoying when you talk about things like due process and actual evidence. Don't worry if people grow impatient with you. It's worth the wait. And that brings me back to deflated footballs, or would-be deflated footballs. The story of Deflategate, when viewed from the lens of an attorney, is very different from viewed from the lens of a mere sports fan. By now, you surely know that the New England Patriots and its star quarterback, Tom Brady, have been accused of an alleged scheme to keep footballs at a level of air pressure slightly below what is permissible in an NFL game. And they have been harshly punished. It sounds like a sports story. It is a sports story. But it can also be an exercise to show why attorneys watching something happening perceive things differently, and I would argue much more informed. An attorney, for instance, cares that punishment fits the crime. So an attorney will question why Tom Brady has been suspended for a quarter of a season and why the Patriots have been fined $1 million, even though the NFL Constitution only talks about a fine up to $500,000. Not sure where $1 million is from. And the Patriots are also required to lose multiple draft picks. Yet the NFL's own rules indicate that the underlying offense, having game balls be below air pressure, carries a $25,000 fine. Where do you go from $25,000 to $1 million? Where do you go from that to a 4-game suspension? Consistency counts to an attorney. An attorney also cares that Tom Brady is a member of a union, the National Football League Players Association, and thus has certain rights and obligations through a collective bargaining agreement that his union negotiated. He has a right, for instance, to contend that the league's power to see him punished shouldn't have been delegated by the commissioner to somebody else. Why? Because there's nothing in the collective bargaining agreement that talks about it. That matters. You can't make rules up as they go just to fit a set of facts. Brady also has a right to privacy in terms of his personal belongings, like his cell phone. Despite what the NFL seems to think, an employer can't grab your personal phone and all the data on it. It doesn't work that way. It's your phone. Brady, moreover, has a collectively bargained right to appeal his suspension in the form of arbitration. And he has a right to object to a potential witness being the arbitrator in that hearing. You never hear about a judge and the witness being the same person. There's a reason for that. An attorney sees these things and understands their importance in terms of the law. A fan doesn't. Brady's legal rights are also very different from those of the Patriots and their owner, Robert Kraft. Mr. Kraft owns a business, but it's not just any business, and it's not fully his. The Patriots are a franchise in a private association of businesses, the National Football League. They're in a joint venture to play competitive football. When you buy a franchise in the NFL, just like you buy a franchise in any other business, you often agree contractually to accept the authority of the association and not to sue the association and other owners of franchises. These contracts are very relevant to the Patriots because they make it extremely difficult for the Patriots to sue the NFL. An attorney realizes that, accepts it, and builds a strategy based on the constraints. An attorney also cares about so-called evidence used to implicate someone else. The NFL said it assembled an independent investigation. I don't know what the word independent means if you hire somebody to do something and you develop an attorney-client relationship with that person. That doesn't sound like independent to me. Independent sounds like it should be independent. Similarly, an attorney will care that a law firm that ran the investigation has no subpoena power. What does that mean? It means it can't get everything. It means it can't compel somebody to testify. Speaking of testify, they didn't testify. That's been a word, it's a verb used by many in the media. It's wrong. They weren't speaking under oath. There's no threat of perjury. Use the word testify as it actually means. An attorney will also care that the report omitted evidence and witness statements. That matters. It matters in law, it matters in football, it matters in life. You know, I could do the same approach to any news story that you've seen lately. And the point isn't news analysis. It's analysis of the world around you, the things that you see. You know, law school is like a form of LASIK. After law school, you see things a lot more clearly, and you pick up things that you didn't before. Embrace it, and you will thrive, and congratulations to the class of 2015. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll now be turning to addresses from our student speakers, from our graduate and our JD student speakers, who this year are Byron Bio Arroyo and Chris Lemming. But before I call Byron and Chris up, I want to share something that I've just learned about both of them, which is really pretty remarkable. And that's the fact that both of them this year became new fathers, which is pretty extraordinary. And I was wondering if the babies are present and if whomever's holding them might allow us to gaze upon the potential third generation of UNH law grads. Are the babies? There's one, and there's the other. Yeah? Oh, it's out. There we go. All right, all of us can use a moment of cuteness now and then, and that definitely fit the bill. I'd also note that Byron's wife, Amparo, is among today's graduates as well, which establishes Byron and Amparo as perhaps the most overachieving people who have ever attended this law school. Congratulations to both of you. I hope you get some sleep soon, because I don't think you did this year. So we'll begin with our graduate student speaker, Byron. Byron is an LLM student from Ecuador. He has served as the graduate student governor this year to the Student Bar Association. And last night, he received the faculty's Graduate Student Award, which is given each year to a graduate student who demonstrates exemplary leadership and academic achievement. His colleagues in the graduate programs voted Byron to be their class speaker this year, and I welcome Byron to the podium. Byron.
An anthropologist proposed a game to the kids in an African tribe. He put a basket of fruits near a tree and told the kids that the first one who finds the fruit would win them all. When he told them to run, they all took each other's hands and ran together, then sat together, enjoying their fruits. When he asked them why they had run together, as one could have taken all the fruits for himself, they said Ubuntu. That means, how can one of us be happy if all the others are sad? Good morning, family, honored guests, faculty, and class 2015, congratulations. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to all the families for supporting the people who are now receiving a diploma. Certainly, without our families, achieving this goal would not have been possible. I would like also to recognize the people who invested all their savings to come here to study, but especially the women who left behind their families and came here to accomplish their dreams and better the life of their families. And one of these women is my wife, my classmate, my dream mate, Ampa. Who just 2 days after giving birth, our first baby was on her feet, prepared for her next class. I also want to say thanks to my son Joaquin for your patience with us, because we were not able to be with you when you were sleeping at night, because we were living our dream at that time. You are our reason for doing this. Thank you, buddy. When we arrived to Concord almost 1 year ago, my wife was pregnant, and we both were scared about our future here, in a different country, another language. But here we found more than a place to study. We found a family. Many uncles and aunts for my son, some babysitters, and grandparent professors who were always concerned about us. Indeed, these acknowledgments are similar to the intellectual property purpose. That is to recognize the people who are working to make our world a better place to live. In this way, IP works as a tool to encourage people to put their efforts in resolving problems that everyone faces. Then, if we can encourage many people to resolve these problems, we will be able to destroy our real enemies. Not only incurable diseases, but also hunger, poverty, and illiteracy. Developing countries like mine, Ecuador, are looking for access to the new innovative society. My president said, if knowledge were not privatized, but placed at the service of the humanity as a whole, it could boost the development of the poorest countries. They don't need charity as much as they need skills, science, and technology. Now, the world is clamoring for new solutions. My advice to all the students is, first, we can make this a better place to live with integrity and humility, our most valuable weapons. Second, if you have a dream, figure out how that dream can help others. Because when you go through a hard time achieving that dream, remembering those others will encourage you to keep going. Third, don't fear about what others may say when you are trying to get your dream, because even if you have failed in achieving those dreams, you have won. Remember that only you define your success, not based on the things that you have accumulated, but what you have shared and has remained in many lives. I know that this is not going to be easy, but if it was easy, everybody could do it. Students, faculty, this is a time for sharing. This is an Ubuntu time. I am because we are. Thank you.
Thank
We'll next hear from our JD student speaker, Chris Lemming. In his time at UNH Law, Chris has served as the managing editor of our intellectual property journal, IDEA. He has served as a judicial extern at the United States District Court for the Honorable Landia McCafferty. And last night, Chris was an award recipient as well. He was one of 2 recipients of the faculty's Scholarship and Leadership Award, given each year to a law student in the graduating JD class who best represents a combination of scholarship and leadership. So our speakers this year are truly accomplished graduates. His colleagues in the JD program have voted Chris to be their class speaker, and I invite him to the podium. Chris.
Hello, my dear friends. It is so good to see you here today. We did it, but I don't think I could have done it without you. So I just want to take a few minutes to thank you for welcoming me into the class of 2015 at the University of New Hampshire School of Law. You know that I'm from North Carolina originally, but you may not know that it was not my original plan to come here. I had a far different idea for my own legal education. And in fact, my long-suffering wife, Lindsay, didn't even know that I'd applied here at first. I don't recommend that as a way to break the news to your loved ones. But she put up with me. After we toured the school, met the students, met the faculty, we made the right decision. Even though I quit my job, we sold our house, we left the people behind that we loved. And we moved to New Hampshire just a couple of weeks before orientation. The first few days went smoothly. I remember learning how to spell judgment correctly. Thank you, Justice Conboy. I remember Mike Strauss teaching me what a pin site was. But only a couple weeks into the first semester, and I remember vividly sitting in Civ Pro thinking, what have I done? I looked around me in my classes, I saw each of you, and I wondered whether I could keep up with your intellect and your energy. But you welcomed me in, and in our 1L year, we formed study groups for Civ Pro, Con Law, Property, Contracts, many others. We worked together on our pre-trial and trial ad assignments in our 2L year. We complained together, we collaborated together, we celebrated together. In our 3rd year, our 3L year, we prepared for class together, which I acknowledge sometimes meant sharing the link to casebriefs.com right before class. We became better advocates as we watched and critiqued each other's in our courtroom rehearsals. And outside of the classroom, we were there for each other too. We felt each other's pain when some of us lost our loved ones, like parents and grandparents. And we rejoiced together when some of us gained new family members, new sons and daughters. My son Oliver is sleeping right now, but it would not have been an easy transition without the support that you gave to me and to my other classmates, Harris, Philpott, and Chad Wellens. You included us, you invited us to dinner, you came to our house and we invited you. You threw us a surprise baby shower, you opened your arms to us, and my wife and I found a new home here, which we're glad to call our home, and we'll be staying here for the foreseeable future. There is a reason when we were growing up that our parents wanted us to hang out with better people than sometimes we wanted to hang out with. When I was in high school, it took me a little longer than it should have to realize that lesson, and that I did better when I hung out with more accomplished individuals. Their excellence seemed to rub off on me, and so it was here. If I have succeeded in law school, and I have, it's because of you. It's because I was surrounded by the excellent people and excellent students of the class of 2015. Through our time here at UNH Law, we have become accustomed to challenge and adversity. We are ready to deal with it. And I say ready not because we know how to handle every issue, although we know how to handle quite a lot thanks to these individuals over here. I say that we are ready because we are a community. the support network that we'll rely on long after we walk across this stage. As we take on the yoke of advisor, of counselor, of lawyer, as we begin our lifetime of service to others and to our communities, we will face challenges unlike any we have ever seen. And when we do, when we feel stuck, I want us to remember each other. I want us to remember the friendships that we've formed here. Call your friends, talk about what you're doing, what you're facing, the trouble you're having. We'll be here for you. No matter what you're facing, legal, ethical, personal, I want you to always remember you can call me too. And I really mean that. It's the least I can do to repay you for welcoming me into your community. I'm so glad that I came here to this school and that I've met all of you. You've been so good to me and to my family. You've helped make me a better person and a better lawyer. To the class of 2015, I say, be well, do good work, and stay in touch. Thank you.
So I would now like to introduce Cassidy Neal, Student Bar Association Governor, who will be presenting the 2015 graduating class gift. Cassidy.
Like most of you, I'm happy to be here, and I'm also incredibly hot, so I'm going to keep this as brief as possible. As you all know, being a law school student is very demanding. It's stressful, it's challenging. We all have our tough days. So this year, our class gift, we wanted to provide students with an opportunity to calm down, relax, maybe not think about school. So our gift this year is a student lounge where we can go socialize, decompress, and forget about the things like our exams, our midterms, our studying. So we have all donated money to be put towards the Student Center. So on behalf of the entire graduating class, I'd like to present that to you, Dean Budd.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cassidy. So Cassidy and all of you, I want to thank you for this generous, well, I'm assuming it's a generous gift. I haven't opened it, but I'm sure it's generous, and I want to thank you very much for it. An important part of the life of this school is a commitment we all make to pay it forward. You've already heard that from your colleagues. I think you probably heard it for the last 3 years from my colleagues on the faculty. And all of us make a commitment to be part of an institution, not just presently, but going forward, so that others who will follow can have the same opportunity to receive the kind of excellent education you've received and that so many others have received before you. To make that happen, alumni support of the law school is an important piece, and this gift is a wonderful demonstration of your commitment to the future of UNH School of Law. So thank you again. Much appreciated. So we're going to turn now to the awarding of honorary degrees. We have today the privilege of conferring honorary degrees upon 3 remarkable women, Kathy Green, Sherry Young, and Justice Carol Ann Conboy. While their professional lives have taken really quite different paths, the similarities in their careers far outnumber those distinctions. Each recipient graduated from this law school within the first 5 years of its existence and joined the legal profession at a time when women in the bar were far fewer in number and encountered very significant barriers to professional achievement. Each recipient, by force of personality and character and intellect, overcame those barriers, forged a distinguished career as a leader in her respective area of practice. For Kathy, criminal defense; for Sherry, environmental law and commercial law; and for Justice Conboy, service in the judiciary. And in doing so, each of these recipients blazed a path forward for countless other women in our state who have followed in their footsteps and benefited from their resolute determination to advance our profession and make it more inclusive of diversity and more responsive to the full range of our society's needs. Finally, all three of these recipients achieved extraordinary professional success while never losing sight of where they came from and the law school where their professional careers began. Kathy, Sherry, and Justice Conboy each served for years on the governance board of UNH School of Law when it was an independent entity in various leadership capacities. Kathy served as chair of the Board of Trustees. Sherry served as vice chair of the Board of Trustees. Justice Conboy served for over 20 years on the board in various capacities and was a long-standing leader of the executive committee. These three women partnered with President Huddleston and then Dean John Hudson to first envision the affiliation of our law school with the University of New Hampshire, and more recently led the effort with which I'm sure you're all familiar because you've lived through some of the database transitions that attended, the full integration of our law school into the University of New Hampshire. As we complete our first full year as a fully integrated college of UNH, it's particularly fitting that we take the opportunity to honor the visionary leadership of these three alumni who have worked so hard and so effectively to ensure this law school's vibrant future. The debt of gratitude we owe them is truly profound. We will begin by conferring the honorary degree upon Kathy Green. Kathy, will you please step forward? The commendation of this degree reads as follows. In recognition of her service to the law school as chair of the Board of Trustees during a time of great challenge and opportunity, her bold and strategic leadership in guiding the law school through its transformative integration with the University of New Hampshire, and her decades of service to the cause of equal justice as an outstanding and inspirational advocate, the University of New Hampshire School of Law, upon the recommendation of the Dean and faculty, hereby confers on Kathy J. Green the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws and all the rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to this degree. Congratulations, Kathy.
Good afternoon. 40 years ago, I drove up to a pink building in East Concord on Mountain Road that I later learned had been converted from a bull farm for my interview at Franklin Pierce Law Center. And that's where the law school was for its first 2 years of existence. I was captivated by the pioneering spirit and philosophy of the founders of this law school. They believed in teaching students not only the law, but how to be lawyers. They hired professors who understood and valued how to practice law and wanted to prepare their students to actually be lawyers. The relationship between the professors and the students was noticeably different from the other law schools that I had visited, and that greatly appealed to me. Excited by the energy and the spirit of the school, I decided to come here. I was only one of 14 women in my class. Times were very definitely different then. Once I came here, I also learned that the president of the school believed in the Loch Ness Monster. He spent a summer vacation searching for Nessie, who remains elusive to this day despite his many efforts. The school provided me with great opportunities. I interned for Jim Duggan, who was a public defender. He went on to be a law professor here, acting dean, and then he served on the state Supreme Court. I got my first job as a result of that internship, and I became one of 3 public defenders in New Hampshire. There are now 120. It was a time when there were few women who practiced law and ever went to court, and no one had practiced criminal law before, no woman. At that time, the judges and lawyers called each other brother. And they didn't quite know what to do with me. So some people called me Brother Green, which was a little odd, and other people called me Sister Green. I soon had my first jury trial, and by coincidence, Jim Duggan and I represented co-defendants. Our clients were very experienced in the criminal justice system, much more than I was. And they were facing decades in prison for selling stolen firearms, which is a particularly bad idea if you're a felon. There was really no defense, and the evidence was overwhelming. Our clients wanted a trial, and so we proceeded. And Jim sagely offered his trial strategy to me. His strategy was that we should sit as far away from our clients as we could because they were pretty scary-looking guys. This case was in front of one of the judges that called me Sister Green. We had our trial, the jury returned its verdict, and they announced not guilty. Jim Duggan turned to me in a voice that could be heard, I think, throughout the courtroom, and he said, "No," expletive deleted. Several weeks later, I was in a local restaurant, and a familiar-looking woman came up to me. I recognized her as a member of the jury, and she said to me, "Is it true that you're a nun?" I was taken aback, and I asked her why. And she said, the jury understood that because the judge had addressed me as Sister Green throughout the trial, I must be a nun. And so they figured that a nun would never represent a guilty client. Much has changed over the years, including the opening of the legal profession to women. Another significant change is our merger with the University of New Hampshire, which has greatly benefited the school and our students. But the core principles of the law school that I came to remain, which is demonstrated by our nationally recognized Daniel Webster Scholar Program, our consistent top 10 ranking in intellectual property, and the success of our graduates who are leaders in their chosen careers throughout the world. It is still a school where your professors care about you. They'll go that extra mile to get you that internship or go to great lengths to get you your first job. Your law degree will open many doors for you. I hope for you the joy that I have found in the legal profession. I am a criminal defense lawyer, and I love what I do. Every day is interesting, challenging, and rewarding. I urge you to make a difference, to volunteer, to get involved, to find your passion, and most of all, enjoy what you do. You've worked hard, accomplished much. Congratulations to you all.
We will next confer the honorary degree upon Sherry Young. Sherry, will you please step forward? The commendation of this degree reads as follows. In recognition of her service to the law school as vice chair of the Board of Trustees and as a champion of the school's transformative integration with the University of New Hampshire, her lasting contributions to our profession as a founder of a major law firm and a leading authority on environmental law, and her countless civic and charitable commitments, the University of New Hampshire School of Law, upon the recommendation of the Dean and faculty, hereby confers on Sherilyn Burnett Young the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws and all the rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to this degree. Congratulations, Sherilyn.
Congratulations, graduates. The degree you receive today will change your life and the lives of many others along the way that you will help in immeasurable ways. Despite what you may otherwise hear about lawyers, the practice of law, especially in a place like New Hampshire, is an honorable profession. Lawyers are comparatively one of the most generous professionals, giving of their time, talent, and treasure to make the world a better place. Whether representing pro bono clients, serving on a nonprofit board, or coaching youth sports, lawyers meaningfully contribute to their communities, and you will do the same. You are the millennials, roughly defined as those born between 1980 and 2000. You want to make a difference in the world by doing good, and you want to have work-life balance. And there's good news. I'm here to tell you that all of that is possible. Many of you will at some point in your career work in a private law firm. I know a bit about that because that's what I've done my entire career. 28 years ago, this coming Monday, I and 3 other colleagues started the law firm of Rath, Young, and Pignatelli right here in Concord, New Hampshire. 2 men and 2 women attorneys and a couple of staff. We are now about 30 lawyers with almost 60 employees in 3 locations, Concord, Nashua, and Boston. The day we opened our doors, 3 of the 4 founding shareholders had a total of 7 young children among us. I had 3 under the age of 3. Our other colleague gave birth to her first child the very next day. Must have been all those files we were carrying into the new office. Then she went out on maternity leave for 6 weeks and then worked on a part-time schedule for an extended time. And we managed it. Since then, we've hired several other pregnant women. 2 of them are here today, knowing that they would go out on paid maternity leave within a matter of months and possibly work a part-time schedule thereafter. And it all worked out great for us. I remember early on in my career sitting in a meeting with important clients, all men but for me, which was not unusual back then, and my partner, Tom Rath, informed them that we had to finish our meeting by 4 p.m. because he had a date on the soccer field with his son. I was somewhat stunned. To my amazement, the clients accepted the pronouncement cheerfully, asking all about his son's soccer experience and then sharing notes about their own kids. And I thought then, that's what this is all about, putting work and life in balance. Over the years, the employees of our firm have produced a lot of babies, many of them now grown up with families of their own. We even have a 2nd-generation Pignatelli as one of our newest shareholders, the next generation of leaders. We enjoy a high quality of legal practice. Our attorneys are a talented and bright bunch. Many came to us from big city law firms seeking their own work-life balance. We all work hard, but we also make time for family as a priority. We go to our kids' concerts, school plays, athletic events. We have dinner together with family around the dining table. We take family vacations. And we volunteer on numerous boards and nonprofit organizations. Do we miss some things and mess up sometimes? Of course we do. It's hard to keep balanced. Is it challenging to make it all work? Of course it is. But I am here to say once again, with great assurance, that work-life balance is possible, and it's important. You will have many choices to make over your career. Choose wisely and always seek balance. Thank you for this wonderful honor, and thanks to my husband Gary, who's in the audience today watching me get my 2nd degree from this fine institution. You're not paying for this one, dear. Gary has certainly helped me immeasurably in the quest for balance in my life, with work and family. And once again, congratulations to all the graduates of the class of 2015. With your law degree, you will make the world a better place. Thank you.
We will next confer the honorary degree upon the Honorable Carol Ann Conboy. Justice Conboy, will you please step forward? commendation of this degree reads as follows. In recognition of her countless contributions to our law school as a visionary leader of the Board of Trustees, her tireless work on behalf of the people of this state as a judge of the Superior Court and as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, and her exemplary service to the legal profession as a role model and mentor, the University of New Hampshire School of Law, upon the recommendation of the Dean and faculty, hereby confers on the Honorable Carol Ann Conboy the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws and all the rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to this degree. Justice Conboy will now deliver our commencement address. Justice Conboy.
Good afternoon. President Huddleston, Provost McFarland, Dean Budd, Dean McCabe, Attorney Green, Attorney Young, distinguished trustees and faculty, and honored guests, and especially the class of 2015. Please know how privileged I feel to be standing before you on this special day. When I started my studies at this very unique law school 40 years ago, I could not have dreamed that I would be given this extraordinary honor. Thank you. Class of 2015. As you know, I stood before you nearly 3 years ago on your first day of law school. My job was to administer an oath of professionalism. You may have thought it odd or even hokey that you would be asked to take such an oath at the very start of your legal studies. But I trust that looking back, all of you now know there was nothing odd or hokey about making those promises to me, to each other, and to the profession. Do you recall what I told you? I said that during your law school years, you would be learning your new role in our society. But as you did, people would regard you as already serving in that role. From that day forward, you would represent our profession. You would be a standard setter, a leader. I told you you didn't have the luxury of assuming that just because you were students, you would not be held to a higher standard. That whether in church or at the supermarket, you would be on stage at all times. I told you that the broader community would hold you to the standards governing those of us who have the privilege of representing and speaking for others. My advice extended to such esoteric admonitions as, think before you speak, sit up straight, stand up straight, practice speaking in complete English sentences. I told you that as wordsmiths of our society, Twitter talk just wouldn't do. My apologies to Professor McCann. I even gave you a pop quiz on your first day. All of you can now, with confidence, correctly spell the word judgment, even though Planet Fitness's judgment-free zone still contains that pesky E. I also explained that learning the law is a process and that you should not expect that your professors would be pouring into your empty heads the law you would need to take the bar exam. I told you that learning the law and learning to think like a lawyer involved talking to each other, arguing with each other, pushing back, taking some intellectual hits, and you could not do that hiding behind a laptop cover. My overarching message, though, was that in preparing yourselves to be counselors of the law, paramount was protection of your integrity. Recently, the Union Leader newspaper interviewed Jack Middleton, my former senior partner and mentor at the McLean Law Firm. Attorney Middleton has been an esteemed member of the New Hampshire Bar for nearly 60 years. He was asked what traits make a good lawyer. His answer tells it all. He said, "The first would be integrity." When you took your oath that day 3 years ago, you promised to conduct your academic and professional lives to promote justice and to uphold the principles of honesty, respect, civility, and integrity. Those promises hold today. Now, I'm not so naive as to believe that keeping those promises will be easy. You will not be immune from the pressures of our profession and society. You will not be spared the frenetic pace that has come to characterize American business and family life. And you will not be relieved of the deluge of cyber information that can seem crushing. My advice? Turn down the noise. What am I referring to? The noise created by demanding clients who truly believe a lawyer is a hired gun. The noise created by the pressure to market oneself and generate business. The noise of those looming student loans that risk rationalization, leading to violation of the code of conduct by otherwise decent, hard-working lawyers. The noise that starts as the seductive whisper of the siren of success and money, that expensive house in the good neighborhood, that gleaming BMW in the driveway. Those things can become very noisy indeed. Now, I'm not suggesting that the fast pace of an exciting practice is undesirable. After all, law is not a contemplative order. But when the noise escalates so that you can no longer hear that particular melody that inspires you to do the right thing, it must be turned down. Have the courage to make hard choices. Choose the strong argument and discard the dubious. Resist becoming a captive of technology. Understand that to respond at lightning speed to email and cell phone demands is to respond without study and reflection. Always keep your word. Understand that speaking from behind a curtain of bloodless legalisms will not reassure that worried client who has knocked on your door with a trembling hand. Suppress the urge to demonstrate legal prowess at a financial or emotional cost that your client cannot afford. Choose the path of intellectual honesty in the face of sophisticated cynicism. Understand that winning at all costs always costs too much. Although some believe that hair-splitting, nitpicking, and obfuscation are sometimes necessary to legal strategy, vow that you will not become known as the teller of half-truths. Know that one case in a career is always connected to the cases that came before it and those that come after. Allowing yourself even one impermissible shortcut, one half-truth, one act of abuse of power will break and scatter that string of precious beads that forms a reputation. Understand that your community looks to you as a standard setter. Those biting lawyer jokes notwithstanding, the expectation is that you are a learned person, that you know how our government is supposed to run, and that you will follow and apply the rule of law with integrity. As you shop at the mall, serve on PTA committees, as you stand at town meeting, you are regarded as something more than an average citizen. You will be viewed as a leader. Treasure that perception and make that perception reality. Be the lawyer who enthusiastically helps to meet the great need for legal assistance by our citizens who cannot afford us. There are so many desperate people waiting for your help. Be generous. Pro bono service is among the most uplifting ways of paying forward the debt of gratitude you owe so many. Be the lawyer who understands that there is no shame in asking for help. No one expects you to know everything on day one or on any other day in a long career. Finally, be the lawyer whose career does not obliterate a personal life. Long hours are often necessary, but long hours should not become the default for a life without balance. Adversarial work often requires aggressive, uncompromising posturing, but enduring inflexibility should not become part of your character. Successful litigation often hinges on consummate cross-examination skills, but such skills should not be included among the marital arts. We all know that the law is a jealous mistress. I say she's a noisy one as well. Turn down the noise. I guarantee you'll be surprised at what you hear. As I now send you on your way, I have another pop quiz for you. Are you ready? Here's the question, and you're going to raise your right hand, and as you know, I expect total honesty. Dick the Butcher in Shakespeare's play Henry VI, Part 2, says, "The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers." Raise your hand if you believe you know the true meaning of this quotation. Come on, raise them. What, on this day of all days you're shy? Nobody here knows? I was prepared to give you extra credit, but I'm marking that right off my script. This quote is often used to malign lawyers, and there are competing interpretations as to its meaning. I propose that we accept that of U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. He stated in a 1985 case footnote that this famous line is often misunderstood. He explained that Dick the Butcher's statement was spoken as a rebel, not a friend of liberty, and that as a careful reading of the text will reveal, Shakespeare insightfully realized that disposing of lawyers is a step in the direction of a totalitarian form of government. So killing all the lawyers would not be a good thing. Consider the words of Victor Metcalf, who in the early 20th century was the U.S. Secretary of Commerce and Labor. Metcalf received his law degree from Yale in 1876, and 30 years later, he addressed the Yale law graduates of 1906. He reminded them, as he reminds us today, that it is the lawyers who have been the mainstay of our government. It was their genius that conceived and brought into existence the Declaration of Independence, and it was their knowledge of English law and institutions that gave to us the Constitution, which stands today as the world's masterpiece of statesmanship. Metcalf concluded as follows: "Bear in mind that our system of government is, in the main, the work of the American lawyer and that with but few exceptions, from the foundation of our government to the present time, his hand has guided our ship of state, and his brain and genius formulated our liberties. Of course, we now know that those hands and brains can belong to women. We also know that at the core of the power and influence of the American lawyer is his or her integrity. Without that, no meaningful accomplishment is possible. UNH Law Class of 2015, I have full confidence that you will keep the promises you made to me on your first day of law school. I also know that you will take your place in that unbroken line of lawyers who have created and stood guard over our rule of law with integrity. I welcome you as my colleagues to our great profession. Congratulations.
Thank you, Justice Concord, for those remarks. Those are wonderful sentiments to take with you as you begin your law practice. And speaking of beginning law practice, I think we have some degrees to confer, if I'm not mistaken. So we will begin with the conferring of the JD degree. Have some people get in place, and then we will get started.
Will the Juris Doctor candidates please stand?
In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Juris Doctor with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
You may be seated. Amy Ann Abeloff. Noah Alexander Abrams. Rashid A. Bardawil. Matthew W. Bartholomew. Stephen Andrew Kuiper Batson. Nathaniel A. Blaze. Zachary A. Cody. Joseph William Conti. Christina A. Cornoyer. Sarah Bernice Crisp. Stephanie Susan Del Ponte. Alexa Marie Judith Durkash. John R. De Wispelaire. Brian Michael Foley. Wesley D. Gardner. Owen R. Graham. Stephen T. Groneman. Daniel P. Hackinson. Brandon J. Harris. Alyssa L. Hayden. Caitlin E. Henmuller. Kristen R. Hepp. Robert W. Hill. Julie Diane Hinks. Bethany Karen Rischuk. Thomas A. Jenis. Megan Adele Jepson. Heather L. Johnson. Ryan S. Keene. Benjamin P. LaJoy. Christopher Lloyd Lemming. Xiaomin Li. Laurent Leo Lin. Sean R. List. Jenna M. Lodeman. Patrick T. Lorman. Gregory J. Marangos. Enka M. Marcoux. Haley Jean McClory. Kyle Andrew Hasbrook McDonald. Shauna Marie McNamara. Basra S. Mohammed. Anthony M. Muir. Cassidy John Neal. William Chesley Allen Harris Philpott. Elizabeth Grace Hinman Ranks. Thomas M. Rogers. David W. Rose. Alyssa Holland Rudderman. William Cole Russell. Joseph D. Savage. Andrew Scalingi. Margaret Helen Schmidt. Elizabeth K. Seitz. Shay N. Sennett. Kimberly A. Shaughnessy. Michael E. Strauss. Charles M. Whalen. Chad R. Wellens. Lindsay E. Whitelaw. Nathaniel Adam Wycliffe. Zachary C. Wolf. Brandon D. Wright. Wenyuan Bobby Wu. Catherine Yao. Will the Joint Juris Doctor and LLM in Intellectual Property candidates please stand?
In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Juris Doctor and Masters of Law in Intellectual Property with all the rights, privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
You may be seated. Will the LLM in Commerce and Technology candidates please stand?
In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Masters of Laws in Commerce and Technology with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Amparo Esparza Paula. Ting Lang. Byron Robayo Arroyo. Nitu Smita Das. Will the LLM in Intellectual Property candidates please stand?
In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Masters of Laws in Intellectual Property with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Avantika Bandari. Arturo Ishbak Gonzalez. Asavari Jain. Bernardo Lima de Ataidi. Vijayalakshmi Malkane. Kirill Eugenovich Nikonov. Keisuke Seki. Todsafon Tamvirianont. Deepo R. Vishnu. Yi Swa. Xiaoyan Zhang. Will the Master of Intellectual Property candidates please stand?
In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Master of Intellectual Property with all the rights, privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Abhishek Chopra. Yao Ting Huang. Butian Ma. Ling Swing Yan. Will the Master of International Criminal Law and Justice candidate please stand?
In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Master of Criminal Law and Justice with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Heather L. Hilly.
I ask all the graduates to now stand for the conferring of degrees by the University of New Hampshire. President Huddleston.
This is where the magic happens. By the authority vested in me as president of the University of New Hampshire, and in recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the courses of study and all requirements pertaining to the degrees awarded, I now confer upon you all of the rights, privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to these degrees. Congratulations. You bud.
You may be seated. So you're law graduates now. You have worked incredibly hard. You have pushed your intellect to the edges of what you thought possible. You've taken enormous intellectual and personal risks, and you've mastered a discipline that is as old and as complex as our society itself. Most importantly, you have acquired that defining attribute of our profession, the attribute that Professor McCann referenced earlier, and Justice Comboy as well, which is the ability and the inclination to exercise reasoned judgment. Informed, dispassionate, disciplined judgment, an increasingly rare commodity in a world of 10-second sound bites and scorched earth public rhetoric. It is, in my judgment, what most powerfully distinguishes you as law graduates. Your instinctive predisposition developed over years of hard work and study to understand an argument before dismissing it. There will always be disagreement in our society. There will be disagreement in the courts, disagreement on the sidewalks, disagreement in the legislatures. So the only question for all of us is how we choose to disagree. Will we do so respectfully by carefully considering the facts and thinking hard, thinking really, really hard about the competing principles at issue? Or will we just raise our voices and slap another angry bumper sticker on the back of the car? By your very nature now, you are professionals who will model the exercise of reason and judgment in a society that far too often seems to have forgotten how to have a thoughtful conversation. You will do so in courtrooms, in boardrooms, in town meetings, in legislatures. You will be guardians of reason in an increasingly unreasonable world. And while the world may not always appreciate its great good fortune, it is extraordinarily lucky to have you, as are we, because you will always be a part of this place as well. So do great things, make us proud, stay in touch. Congratulations. And I would invite everyone to join us in the tent on the other side of the bridge for some light refreshments after the recession. Thank you.